Hello, vinyl community, YouTube fans, retro nostalgia fan here. Today, I'm going to show this to the Beatle fans out there and the vinyl community. This is my favorite Beatles album. This is 1966 Beatles album Revolver. And this came out in August 13th, 1966 in the UK. And it came about a week later in the US. And the story is very interesting with this album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, and I got a lot to talk about this album. So, the Beatles. This is the first album where the Beatles go really psychedelic. And 1966 was a big year, really big. There's two controversial things going on with the band at this time. This was the band where they were kind of exhausted of touring. They didn't want to go tour around the world anymore. They just want to refresh their minds in the studio and make some really creative content. And they actually had a controversy with Southern Americans about the popularity better than Jesus Christ, which, in some cases, I can see that really being a really selfish thing to say. But I mean, at the same time, I think the Beatles kind of had, it made sense, though, too, at the same time. I mean, I'm Christian myself, and I believe Jesus Christ is a Savior. But, as offensive as it is to some, I personally can say that it is not a lie at the same time, because the Beatles were really big back then, from 1963 all the way to all the way in their life, for their career in the band. From 1962 to 1970, they were really big, especially from 1963 to 1970. 1962, they started in the UK, but they actually, Love Me Do became number 22 on the UK charts. But Revolver was number 1, and the story is that the band was so tired of going touring in the world. They just wanted to take a break. They were really exhausted, and they were especially exhausted with going to flights to America all the time. They got really tired with America a little bit, especially when fans were destroying the albums because of John Lennon's quote, "Now that we're more popular than Jesus." Very iconic, but also looked at as a crazy moment for the band. It really stressed John Lennon out, and he's like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to go touring anymore. That was one reason, but in general, just exhaustion. They weren't making a lot of money at the studio. That's why they had a tour in the first place. And they got their money. They got their money from touring, which is really good, but they had 2 films at this point. They also made 6 albums prior to Revolver. And I'm not gonna lie, Revolver is a really crazy transitional album for the band. For one, the artwork here. Look at this. You literally get the picture of the 4 themselves with photos cropped from other pictures during other times from the band, outside the studio or even in the studio. And you get the Parlophone logo, and then the album title Revolver. It doesn't say the Beatles anywhere, but I mean, seeing these faces, you know who they are. This is a mono pressing. This is actually not an original. This is a UK 2014 mono repress. This is now starting to go for $90 now. Holy crap. This one's in excellent shape. It recreates the original jacket like the UK mono first pressing with the flip backs, which is awesome. You've seen this in my vinyl collection of my Beatle albums. So this may not look new to you, but this is just my little cool fascination. And fun fact, this album actually had a Ernest J Day sleeve when it was originally released, but this is a Garrett and Lofthouse jacket right there. And it's a repress. I mean, it's the most common sleeve you could find for this album was the Garrett and Lofthouse. The Ernest J Day sleeves were really rare. They were more common with Please Please Me and with the Beatles, but finding one with Hard Day's Night, Help, Rubber Soul, Revolver, and even Collection of Beatles oldies had Ernest J Day sleeves. Seemed like the stereo pressings had that, though. Though there are some mono pressings with Ernest J Day sleeves. Very rare, though. They were only original pressings that had that. But yeah, it's very fascinating. I love this artwork. This is like my favorite album cover of all time. Not gonna lie. And I'll show you the album before I start really getting into the songs. This is I actually found an original inner sleeve. This is actually the original inner sleeve that came with the album back in '66. But inside of it is the actual record. I gave it a MoFi sleeve. There's the record right there. It's in fabulous shape. It's a mono pressing, as you know. Gave it a MoFi sleeve. It has some little scruffs from me playing this. I had this since I was a teenager. But yeah, there's the record. Beautiful shape. But yeah, and now let's get to let me put the record back and talk about the album itself more in detail. So, with that being said, the Beatles at this time had a lot of crazy moments. Like, they were exhausted from touring. Like I said, they were the John Lennon quote, "We were more popular than Jesus," really offended a lot of fans and turned them off from buying Beatle records or even being part of the Beatles community ever after that quote, which John Lennon had to apologize, otherwise people were doing more riots, and that was also what led to them to stop touring at all, because they didn't want to deal with that controversy crap going on. They didn't want to offend people all the time, so they had to just fuck it. So George Harrison was starting to get a little exhausted too at this time. He wanted to start experimenting with the Indian music and the culture. And he actually did go to India in September 1966, a month after this album was released. Paul McCartney had a car accident in around, I believe, can't remember if it was in September or was sometime in spring, because I think it was spring 1966 that he had the accident. He did have a car accident, but he actually didn't die. So Paul is still alive. And then Ringo, he's just wanting some vacation time. The Beatles bought an island actually during 1966. A little fun fact outside the album. But back onto Revolver itself. This album is so ahead of its time. It has some psychedelic tracks. The Beatles were trying acid this time. Paperback Writer and Rain became a single on May 30th in the US, and then a week later in June 7th, 1966 in the UK. It's a great single. It was number one, of course. It's the Beatles. But this album also was number one. And, Tomorrow Never Knows was the first track. This is a crazy track, and I'm going to talk more about it in a minute. I'm going to start off with Taxman. So let's get to the tracks. So, this album, side one opens with Taxman. What a freaking very blunt, expressive song, It was weird to hear George counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hear either Paul or John coughing in the background, and then he's like 2, 2, 3, 4, and then and then do 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 do. That's just so weird, but it's cool that the Beatles gave George Harrison a fresh start, no pun intended, to the album by letting him actually lead the album with his song instead of a Lennon-McCartney track. And Taxman, it's a really good rocker. I love guitar. I love the mono version has more cowbell actually. The stereo version has tambourine in it, which I actually prefer the cowbell. I like the cowbell in the mono mix. The stereo version had more tambourine, but they didn't have as much cowbell, and I love the cowbell. And not gonna lie, Taxman I think is a great George Harrison song. It's very expressive. It talks about George's views against the British government on their taxes and how they raise their taxes more higher. George finds it bullshit, so he actually gets a Taxman. So that's why Taxman became a song. But it's a really good rocker. I used to not like it, but I really like it a lot. It's like it's honestly like a start of an alternative genre. You know what I mean? Like the alternative pop I feel like Taxman was like the pre-alternative pop rock era. It's a great rocker though too. I do love that song. And then we get Eleanor Rigby. Freaking amazing song. This is actually the second Beatles song I've ever heard in my life, and I was 4 years old. I love this song. You know, I love Paul singing. It's beautiful, and George Martin's orchestra. Sorry about that. George Martin's orchestra was, in particular, a group part of his orchestra actually played the violins separately, not the Beatles themselves. George Martin got a few musicians to actually play the violins in the song, and it sounds freaking amazing. And not only that, but Paul McCartney's lyrics. It's about Paul's childhood graveyard where there was a lady's grave that said Eleanor Rigby on it, and he wrote a song about it. And it's a fabulous song. There's nothing wrong. A lot of Beatle fans, say that too. It really is a great song. And then I'm Only Sleeping. Wow, what a great John Lennon song. This is like a very blunt, personal, expressive song right here. I mean, Taxman is too, but I'm Only Sleeping is about just getting away from society and just feel the flow towards your relaxation. And I really love it. I don't know if John had like an ego with this song, but I really like it. It's just so relaxing. John's vocals, his voice actually sounds more high pitched than usual. When I wake up in the morning, well, kind of like that, but it just sounds really relaxing, and then you get the freaking backtrack where there's reverse guitar, and that was really new for its time, and I love the fact that the band actually put effort to experiment ahead of its time to make backwards guitar on I'm Only Sleeping, and even with Tomorrow Never Knows has that. It's really cool. It really is cool. Great relaxing song. Love You Too. I noticed some fans really hate this song for it being too Indian or too psychedelic. I love this song. Again, this is one of my childhood songs I've heard on the Yellow Submarine film when I was a kid. And I love Love You Too. I love George's singing. Love You Too is... I love how George uses the sitar on this song. It's just a perfect example of using a sitar done right. Even Norwegian Wood, coincidentally, sounds really good with the sitar, even though George didn't know what the hell he was doing. Here, he kind of had more experience a little bit at this point, so I think it really sounds good. To George Harrison fans, I think Love You Too is my favorite song from George on this album. Then Taxman. And then Here, There, and Everywhere. This actually was inspired by God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, which I actually might be planning to review that in the future, Drop a like in the comment if you think I should review more albums. I'd be willing to do that. Not because I don't want to just do Thomas stuff. I have other hobbies I like to show. That's why it's Retro Nostalgia Fan. I review retrospectives of things that I grew up with as nostalgia, and the Beatles were nostalgia to me. But back on the song, Here, There, and Everywhere. Paul McCartney said in his own words that God Only Knows is his favorite track from the Beach Boys. Literally, it's my favorite track myself, actually, and I love that song. That song tears me up. And Here, There, and Everywhere actually inspired Paul to write that song on this album. A little fun fact. And I think Paul's lyrics are so beautiful on this song. He makes it like a love ballad, and it sounds like it's a live track where it feels unplugged. It feels like an acoustic unplugged song on the album. And I just love that, Here, There, and Everywhere. It's a beautiful track. I love it. I love Paul's vocals. I used to not like it as a kid when I was young because I thought it was boring, but now hearing it, I love it. It's really a beautiful song, and it's unique to find out that it's actually Paul's response to God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. So that's something interesting. And then Yellow Submarine. Oh my gosh, do I love this song. Some Beatle fans hate this song, but I love this song. And a little story is that this is actually the first Beatles song I ever heard. And you guess it, I watched the Yellow Submarine film before even hearing the Beatles' individual albums. Then when I was about 6 or 5 years old, my mom, for Easter gift, she got me a Yellow Submarine Songtrack album on CD. And I remember listening to Yellow Submarine, Hey Bulldog, Eleanor Rigby, Love You Too was on there, Nowhere Man. Oh man, great song track. That should have been the Yellow Submarine album in 1969, if you ask me. Should have been the song track. But I do prefer the original album cover from the '69 album. The song track it's a boring blue background with the Yellow Submarine on the front. I prefer the original. Anyway, though, the song itself, freaking hilarious though. That John's like making sound effects. That's pretty cool, and I love the fact where they make it sound like everyone's partying at a bar on here. And Ringo's singing. I think this is honestly Ringo's best vocal. Sorry, this is Ringo's best vocals. I think he's done in a Beatles song. I mean Ringo. I don't get me wrong. I think Ringo has a good voice. But John doesn't have a perfect voice, but he sings good in some songs. Nor does Bob Dylan. But I think Ringo does a fabulous job on Yellow Submarine, and it really shows how he loves to have that childish fun. And Paul McCartney wrote the song just to let children get entertained, and it worked for me. I was a child when I heard this song. It was my first Beatles song, and I love it. And I mean, obviously, it had drug influence, but as a kid, I thought it was Paul just being sober and actually making the song literally for kids on a psychedelic album that has LSD references in it, which I'll get to that later. And then side one ends with She Said, She Said. Oh my gosh, I love this song. I used to not like that guitar riff as a kid, but when I heard it when I was 13, I was like, this is catchy. And so I love She Said, She Said. It's such kind of a dark moral song. It has like a dark story to it. I don't actually know what this one's about, to be honest with you. I can't really explain it, but all I can say is that it's a great psychedelic song. And I think it really is definitely John being psychedelic again, trying the experimental phase from the 60s at this point. She Said, She Said, such a psychedelic rock song. I love the guitar riff. And again, it has that alternative rock vibe to it. It has that, I feel like the Beatles also helped Velvet Underground, even though they had completely different perspectives. Don't get me wrong, but in my perspective, I can imagine like the Beatles possibly like inspiring Velvet Underground, because She Said, She Says has that Velvet Underground vibe with it, with that hard grunge guitar in it. Do 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 do. I just love that. I don't know if that was John or George playing that, but it's so damn good. But yeah, side one, fabulous. Side two, we get Good Day Sunshine. We get a little break from the psychedelic rock stuff, and now we go to more of a relaxing side. We get a fun pop song where the Beatles try to show their more common style at this point. More of that Rubber Soul vibe to it with Good Day Sunshine for side two. I love it. It's a great opener for side two, and I just love how happy it is. Paul's song, I love Good Day Sunshine. It's a beautiful song. I love the melody. It's a happy-go-lucky piano melody, and I love Paul, John, and even George all combining their vocals together to sing Good Day Sunshine. I just love that. I just love it. It's a fantastic song. And Your Bird Can Sing, which I love this song. I really love this song. I think it's a beautiful song. I think this is honestly John's best vocals on this album, if you ask me, is And Your Bird Can Sing. I think this is the best of John's vocals for this album, is the highlight. And then after that, we get For No One. This song made me tear up a couple times because it's about breaking up with your relationship, and it's just so hard. It builds a hard impact on you of how to handle it. It's such a really sad song, Paul not seeing his girlfriend anymore, and she's just leaving him, and it's just so depressing. I love the piano. It's just more of a personal song, but it's really a beautiful song at the same time. It's just a really sad song, but at the same time, I really do like it a lot. You know, it's very emotional. Like if a song gets your emotions, that shows how strong of a song it really is. That's what I believe. Um, my words too when I said that. If a song grabs your emotions, it's a strong song. And For No One is a good example of that. But it's a really sad song. But it's still really good. And then Dr. Robert. This song is really cool, you know. Not gonna lie, just the funny part, just for a quick second, the funny part is that this album, now first pressings have the Dr. Robert, where doctor's just Dr. And first pressings had the Dr. in it too, but then second pressings have the full word doctor in it. I'm like, which is it? Was it really? I think it makes sense to have the Dr. Robert, to be honest with you. It's just more, it makes more sense in my opinion. But I don't know why they changed it. I think Dr. Robert sounds better than just filling the full word of doctor and then Robert. But anyway, with the song though, back on that song is really, really cool. And not gonna lie, I like how catchy it is. You know, I like the guitar riff. It's more mellowed, but it has that psychedelic vibe to it a little bit. I do like that. It's a song where it has that pop and psychedelic rock at the same time. And Dr. Robert, I think, is about literally, it's actually a really unique story. So Dr. Robert is actually about when John and George got drugged by a actual doctor who tested an experiment with them by putting LSD in John and George's tea. And that's why Dr. Robert became a song. It's really crazy of a story, but it actually, on YouTube, there was actually an interview where John talks about his first LSD trip and with a doctor. And I think his name actually was Dr. Robert. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was really unique. It's really crazy though how Dr. Robert became a song, but that's a little crazy trip, no pun intended. And then we get George's song I Want to Tell You. This is probably my least favorite George song on the album, and also my least favorite song on the whole album. It's still a good song, but I just think I mean, I love the piano, I love the instrumentation on the song, but George's lyrics, it's literally just George saying, hey, I want to tell you that I got into LSD and I really like it. I think it's cool. That's what I Want to Tell You is all about. And to be fair, not my favorite song on here, but I love the guitar riff on that song, and I love the vocals, like, in the very end where it's like, do do do, do do do, and I gotta listen to it again. Yeah, it's a really interesting song, but I do love George's instrumentation on the song. And then finally we get my favorite song here, my favorite song in the whole album, Got to Get You Into My Life. This one's a fun song. It's a great ass rocker. I love the trumpets here. And Paul McCartney does a fantastic job singing with his rock and roll voice. I just love Got to Get You Into My Life. And ironically, you can have two perspectives of the meaning of this song. The first meaning, which is actually what everyone thought it was all about, was just trying to get a girl into their life, you know? That's what I thought this song was about. But on a YouTuber by the name of Mean Mr. Mail, or Joe, as some close Beatle fans know him by, and Joe, if you're watching this, I thank you very much, man. I don't do just Thomas stuff. I also do vinyl collections, and reviews like that. But anyway, though, I found out that Got to Get You Into My Life is actually just Paul saying, hey, I want pot in my life. Pot made me a better person. And not gonna lie, I think a lot of people felt that way. I'm not gonna lie, I've tried pot. And then there's times where I thought, I don't mind it. But I said to myself, you know what? Not a big fan. But this was a long time ago. I don't do pot anymore. I only tried it once. Back when I was in high school. Anyway, changing the subject, back to the song, is that Got to Get You Into My Life really really is a catchy song, and I love it. It's my favorite song on this album. And then finally, the last song on the album is Tomorrow Never Knows. Holy crap. John took 5 LSD trips, I believe. 5 or 3. Actually, was it 3? I can't remember. It was either 3 or 5. 3, 4, or 5. One of the 3. Let me know in the comments. I can't remember, but from a review from another vinyl community YouTuber, he said that John took quite a few LSD trips, and Tomorrow Never Knows is literally about LSD. Everyone says Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is about LSD because it's spelled, if you abbreviate it, it says LSD, but Tomorrow Never Knows is literally about guiding the steps of taking LSD. So the song truly is more about LSD than Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You know, I think that song, I think in John's words, I think he was being sincere about it when he said that it's not about LSD. I mean, some people that are not Beatles fans, I've noticed, say that Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is about LSD. I don't think it really is. From John's interview in the Imagine documentary movie, John Lennon stated that he saw his son Julian make a drawing, and he's like, "What you drawing, Julian?" And he's like, "It's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds," and that's what made him make the song in Sgt. Pepper's. But Tomorrow Never Knows is actually about guiding the steps to taking LSD. Turn up your mind, relax, and flow downstream. That's just a sign of LSD. And I love it for how psychedelic and advanced this song is for its time. It's crazy. I literally thought when I first heard of Revolver, I thought this album came out in like 1970 or in the 70s. But no, 1966. Holy crap. That's actually pretty crazy. Like, this album was advanced for its time. And Tomorrow Never Knows was actually the first track recorded on here. And another fun fact is that it was originally going to be called The Void, but people thought that would be more dark humor, like had a more dark humor to it, where it was more on the disturbing demonic side. So John thought of another name. It was a quote that Ringo would say in an interview in 1964, where he's like, "You never know what's going to happen. Tomorrow never knows." And John loved that so much. So he's like, "You know what? That's the song. And Tomorrow Never Knows. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow." But yeah, I love this song. Honestly, it's a great psychedelic masterpiece. And that's Revolver by the Beatles. This is, like I said, this album I think is a really good album. I know some Beatle fans that don't like this album that much, and I know some, including myself, loving this album, and even saying that this is the best album. I think it's the best album myself, personally. I mean, I know people love the White Album, Sgt. Pepper's, no surprise, or Abbey Road as their favorite album. Even Let It Be, actually. I know some fans that love Let It Be as their favorite album. Or even Rubber Soul, but Revolver is my favorite. It's an experience, and it has psychedelic rock, alternative, early pre-alternative before it actually was an identified genre. What else? Grunge rock a little bit with She Said, She Said. A little bit more of that sunshine pop with Good Day Sunshine and Your Bird Can Sing. It's an experience. It has varieties of genres in this, except it doesn't have the R&B and stuff, obviously, but it's really an amazing album, and, you know, I think definitely give this a listen sometime. If you're a Beatles fan like me, or you're getting into the Beatles, definitely listen to this album. This sounds pretty modern for its time. If you like a little bit modern music more, this album probably has like that vibe to it, where that Revolver, the White Album, and Abbey Road has like the most modern touch to the songs, if you ask me. Or even Beatles for Sale has that, even Rubber Soul. But yeah, otherwise this is a fabulous album. One more thing is that when Revolver came out in America, they got rid of songs like I'm Only Sleeping, as well as Dr. Robert and Your Bird Can Sing, because those songs were released in June. No, it was May. In May 1966 on the Yesterday and Today album, which ironically came out the same year in the Butcher cover, and then re-released as a trunk cover because Fans were like disgusted, like, why are they holding those little bloody baby dolls? That's disgusting. So of course they immediately recalled it at Capitol and a lot of record shops. Record shops would call Capitol and say, hey, people aren't liking this cover. What the heck? This is disgusting. So they actually said, okay, guys, let's take another photo. And they used the trunk cover. And the butcher cover goes for like $10,000 or more. Who knows? It's really rare though. And, you know, I hope someday I can find a butcher cover, a genuine one. But, yeah. And the US version of Revolver is not as good. It's just missing 3 really good songs, And Your Bird Can Sing, Dr. Robert, and I'm Only Sleeping, which makes this album its own unique creativity of a masterpiece. So overall, get the UK version of Revolver. Personally, I prefer the mono mix, which is why I got this 2014 mono reissue. Now discontinued and going for more money now. The stereo copy is good too. If you're looking for a copy at all. I personally care for analog pressings, but otherwise though, definitely check this album out. I think you guys would enjoy it. But otherwise, guys, this is Retro Nostalgia Fans signing peace out, and God bless you.